Hi, viewers. Welcome back to the Huddle. Today I'm with American Gaming Association Vice President of Research, David Forman. How are you today, David?
I'm doing great, Kirk. How are you? Thanks for having me.
Of course, yeah, we're excited to have you on. And we're coming off the Global Gaming Expo G2E Conference in Las Vegas. How do you feel the event went, and what were some of the highlights for the AGA?
Absolutely, yeah. First of all, thanks to everybody who came out to G2E earlier this month. It was the 25th anniversary of G2E, so a milestone for the AGA and for G2E. And we were just excited to welcome about 25,000 gaming industry professionals to Las Vegas to bring them together in the undisputed capital of the industry to network with each other, to see new products, and to see some new elements of G2E that we've never had before. I don't know if you were able to get out there, but this was the first year we had the G2E Dealer Championship. We had 34 great competitors from casinos across the country who were showing off some pretty amazing skills, if you got to see it, in terms of dealing blackjack and roulette. So that was cool. Very cool event to see. Hopefully we'll continue that next year. But I think it was a pretty great show this year from our perspective and from what we've heard from the suppliers on the floor and also from buyers.
Yeah, absolutely. G2E is always a fantastic event that I feel, brings the most prominent names in gaming together. And what you said, the capital of this industry, especially for North America. So the AGA recently released a study into the public perception of sports events contracts. And I was kind of wondering, was there a special motivation kind of for the AGA to release a study such as this, given the rise of event contracts and prediction markets in the US this year?
Yeah, I think the main reason we put it out there was just to kind of make it clear what I think everybody already knows, right? Is that these sports events contracts are gambling. Uh, the companies offering them in many cases, um, depending on when and where, usually don't pretend that they're not gambling. Their ads say bet lot, bet legally in all 50 states. Um, but then in other venues, they'll try to say that this is actually a financial instrument, like buying soybean futures or what have you. So I think we just want to make it clear to folks in the media, to regulators, to lawmakers, that nobody really believes that these are like soybean futures, right? Americans, people using these products, all overwhelmingly recognize that these sports event contracts are sports betting. They should be regulated like sports betting. And for the most part, people think that the companies offering these contracts are exploiting a loophole to do so.
Of course, and as VP of Research, were there any surprises that you found in the research, and how do you feel the study kind of forms a general consensus around sports events contracts?
I think one of those maybe not surprising thing, given the volume out there, maybe what's surprising is that the relatively few people who are actually using sports event contracts, right? Most Americans at this point have access to legal regulated betting in their states. There's obviously a few big examples, uh, 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 outliers there, like Texas and like California. For the most part, most people can bet legally, and so we found a relatively small number of people actually using these products. And we've been seeing over the past few weeks the kind of growth is stagnated there. So I think that was an interesting finding.
Yeah, and given that 80% of Americans believe that sports events contracts should be regulated in a similar fashion to online sports betting, does this kind of serve as a warning to operators that may be looking to enter the space?
I don't think it's a warning to anybody in terms of how the public views it. I just think that it hammers home that nobody's fooled by the arguments that these are not uh, sports bets, right? Like the public isn't fooled by it. We've seen increasingly over the past few weeks that a lot of state regulators aren't fooled by it. You see regulators kind of taking a stronger position in many cases, issuing warnings to companies involved in this stuff or filing lawsuits in some cases. Um, so I think it just kind of hammers home the at the heart of it, kind of obvious nature of this debate, which is that these are sports bets and they should be regulated like sports bets, regardless of what loophole somebody might have found somewhere.
Absolutely. And I think it's good to kind of put like a firm statement on that. And does the AGA still foresee kind of a future where these are a typical offering, the same as we see as sports betting? Or do you think we're still kind of years away from proper regulation and coming to a common agreement?
I think the court process is going to play out on its own schedule, which is probably going to be measured in, many months, if not years. But in the shorter term, I think players are going to recognize that they're better served betting with legal operators who, in many cases, offer better odds, more transparent pricing, in many cases without a fee tacked on to the back end. And despite what a lot of the sport event contract folks say, this idea that you're betting with a peer, right? You're usually betting with a hedge fund, right? Or in many cases, you're betting with the operator themselves. You have no recourse in many cases. So I think consumers are going to recognize at the end of the day that betting with legal regulated operators whose whole business model is designed to provide a great experience for sports bettors is the way to go.
Absolutely. I appreciate you speaking on that, David. And kind of from a general sense, how do these AGA studies give operators and regulators a good sense of where the gambling industry currently is, from a public perception?
I think they all kind of tie together. We put out about 20 research products a year, and I think they all kind of paint a positive picture, a more positive picture than we read about in the media most of the time. We just wrapped up doing our annual, we call it our American Attitude Survey, which measures Americans' participation in gambling and their overall views towards the industry. And you wouldn't believe it, but actually Americans have a better favorability towards the industry than they've ever had. And part of that is mainly driven, I think, by more Americans than ever having bet in the past year, right? Last year, 57% of Americans said that they've gambled one way or another, whether that's with a lottery, at a casino, a sports book, um, mutual bet, whatever it may be, right? Almost 60% of Americans now are betting each year. And at the same time, we've seen that, when we ask people, do you think gambling is an acceptable form of entertainment? Right. For a long time, it's been about 90% of Americans think it's an acceptable form of entertainment. There's no real moral opposition to gaming in this country anymore. That's been pretty steady for many years now. But what has been growing is the number who say that they personally find gaming an acceptable activity, and that's now at 62%. So as more people have more avenues to legally engage with legal, sports betting products or iGaming products or casino products, whatever it may be, they're recognizing that, hey, this is a great form of entertainment. It's great value for my entertainment dollar. It's innovative. And I think that's driving a more positive view of the industry than people had when, it was something that was kind of tucked away in Nevada or New Jersey, and people couldn't really see with their own eyes or touch with their own hands a product, and they only heard secondhand about its reputation, which a lot of people are out to tarnish.
Yeah, that's incredibly interesting to hear. And, just to tie it back to G2E, how do you see the conference continuing to expand and, building on its reputation as the center point of gaming, especially here in North America?
Yeah, I mean, every year our partners at Reed are reevaluating how to bring new things to G2E to make it more valuable for the exhibitors and for the visitors. So this year we rolled out, I mentioned the dealer championship. They also rolled out, new meeting zones, a new media zone, which I hope you got to enjoy while you were out there. And we continue to roll out networking lounges. We have influencer lounges. There was an iGaming zone that was new this year. So, it's hard to imagine what's going to be the hot topic when G2E rolls around next year, given that, just a few months ago, nobody was really talking about sports events contracts. And a year ago, almost nobody was really talking about sweeps, which is another big topic. So hard to say what the topic du jour will be at G2E next year, but I have no doubt that it'll be addressed and it'll be top of mind in front of stage for everybody, whether it's a CEO on the main stage or some of the networking opportunities or a new area on the floor.
Yeah, I think one of the most anticipated things all year is what's going to be that, first keynote address at G2E, what's going to be the topic, what's it going to be about. So I'm very much looking forward to it, and I'm sure everyone in the gaming industry is. And once again, thank you so much for joining us today, David.
Of course, thanks, Kirk.
Of course, and this has been the Huddle Podcast. We'll see you next time.